Welcome to today's episode, where we share heartbreaking news about extraordinary American legends who passed away in the last 24 hours on May 23, 2025. Join us as we pay tribute to their remarkable lives, celebrating their contributions and legacies that touched us all. This is a moment to reflect and honor their impact. If you find this tribute meaningful, please like, support, and subscribe to our channel for more heartfelt content. Let's come together to remember these icons. Stay tuned. Tommy Reamon. What drives a man to chase glory on the field, the screen, and the sidelines, even when the odds stack against him? Tommy Reamon, a Virginia kid who became a football star, a Hollywood actor, and a legendary coach, lived a life that sounds like a movie script. From setting records in a forgotten football league to mentoring NFL icons like Michael Vick, Reamon's story is packed with triumphs, surprises, and a final chapter that's got people talking. But how did he do it all, and what cost did he pay? Let's dive into the journey of a Hampton Roads hero. Born in Newport News, Virginia, in 1952, Tommy Reamon wasn't handed anything. Growing up at George Washington Carver High, he turned heads as a running back with a knack for breaking tackles and expectations. By the time he hit Fort Scott Junior College in Kansas, he was unstoppable, racking up 6,500 yards and 46 touchdowns over 2 seasons. Named the National Junior College Offensive Player of the Year in 1971 and 1972, he led Fort Scott to an NJCAA championship and earned a spot in their Hall of Fame. But Reamon's big break wasn't in the NFL, it was in a league most have forgotten. Why would a rising star skip the NFL for a risky upstart? In 1974, Reamon joined the World Football League's Florida Blazers, a move that raised eyebrows. Some say it was the promise of more playing time or a bigger paycheck, but whatever the reason, it paid off. Reamon tore through the WFL, rushing for 1,576 yards and 11 touchdowns in a 20-game season, earning MVP honors, and setting records that still stand, like 189 yards in a single game and 83 in the World Bowl. He led the Blazers to the championship game, falling just short against Birmingham, 22-21. But the WFL's collapse in 1975 left Reamon scrambling. What happened next would test his grit. The NFL wasn't as kind to Reamon as the WFL. Drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers in 1974, he joined a legendary class with names like Lynn Swann and Jack Lambert, but never saw a regular season game. Traded to the Kansas City Chiefs in 1976, he finally showed his spark, gaining 750 yards from scrimmage and scoring 5 touchdowns. He even made history, scoring in the last ever NFL versus college All-Stars game. But tryouts with the Bears and Redskins fell through, and by 1978, his football dreams were fading. So, Reamon did something unexpected, he turned to Hollywood. Did Reamon almost become a movie star? After hanging up his cleats, he landed a role as Delmer Huddle in North Dallas 40, a 1979 film that exposed the gritty side of pro football. He popped up on TV screens too, in shows like Charlie's Angels, Quincy, and The Fall Guy through the early 80s. His charisma shone, but the roles dried up. Some say he could have been a bigger name, but Reamon had a different calling, one that would change lives in ways Hollywood never could. Back in Virginia, Reamon found his true stage, coaching. Over 35 years, he led 6 Hampton Roads high schools, racking up 184 wins. But it's the players he shaped that tell the real story. At Ferguson and Warwick, he mentored Aaron Brooks, who became a 6-year NFL starter with the New Orleans Saints, and Michael Vick, a 4-time Pro Bowler who redefined the quarterback role. Reamon guided both to college scholarships, along with Vick's brother Marcus and countless others. His secret? Seeing potential others missed. Mike Tomlin, now the Steelers head coach, called Reamon a blueprint, crediting his $5 football camps for giving kids like him a shot. But Reamon's final act was his boldest yet. Why coach a struggling team at 70? In 2023, Reamon took on Denby High School, a program with a 34-game losing streak, urged by Mike Tomlin, a Denby alum. Some questioned if it was too much for a man his age, but Reamon saw it as a mission. In 2024, he led the Patriots to 2 wins, their first in years, and a playoff berth. He reshaped the team's culture, proving he still had the fire. But whispers about his health started to surface, and they'd soon cast a shadow over his legacy. In March 2025, Reamon faced a tough battle, a stroke that landed him in the hospital for nearly 2 months. His son, Tommy Reamon Jr., shared updates, noting a tracheostomy in April and a slow recovery. Rumors swirled online, with some speculating his years in football might have taken a toll, though nothing's confirmed. By May, the Hampton Roads community was rocked by news of his passing at 73. Tributes poured in, from Michael Vick's wife, Key Jaffa, to Norfolk State, calling him a one-of-a-kind figure. But what really defined Tommy Reamon? From a Newport News kid to a WFL star, a Hollywood hopeful, and a coach who shaped NFL legends, Tommy Reamon lived a life of relentless drive. His 184 wins and mentorship of players like Vick and Brooks left a mark on Hampton Roads that won't fade. But his final push at Denby raises a question: did his passion for the game define his legacy, or push him too far? Share your thoughts below, and let's honor a man who never stopped chasing greatness. Georgia O'Connor. What does it take to become a champion when the world keeps throwing punches? Georgia O'Connor, a 25-year-old boxing prodigy from Durham, England, seemed destined to dominate the ring. But her story isn't just about victories, it's about a fight far bigger than any arena. Let's dive into the life of a warrior who inspired the world, even when the odds were stacked against her. Georgia's journey began early, sparring with her dad in their garage at just 5 years old. By her teens, she wasn't just a boxer, she was a force. A black belt in Taekwondo, she clinched 3 national titles in the sport and stayed undefeated in kickboxing. Her talents didn't stop there. Fluent in French from a childhood stint in France, she balanced studying civil engineering with strumming the guitar and singing soulful tunes. This wasn't your average athlete, she was a whirlwind of passion and grit. But what made her truly stand out was her heart, a trait that would carry her through battles no one saw coming. And that's where her story starts to take shape. In the boxing world, Georgia was a comet blazing through the amateur ranks. At 16, she became one of the youngest to join the British team, a testament to her raw talent. In 2017, she snatched gold at the Commonwealth Youth Games, dazzling crowds with her precision and power. That same year, she grabbed silver at the Youth World Championships, followed by a bronze in 2018. She wasn't just winning fights, she was collecting medals like trophies, with a bronze and silver from earlier European Youth Championships already under her belt. Fans whispered her name as the next big thing, and it's easy to see why. But what happened next would test her in ways no ring ever could. By 2021, Georgia turned pro, signing with Boxer, a powerhouse in British boxing. She stormed into the professional scene, going undefeated in all 3 of her fights, each one on points despite grueling challenges. Her bouts, including one on the historic all-female card at the O2 Arena in London, showed a fighter with superstar potential. Promoters and fans alike saw a future champion, someone who could redefine women's boxing. But behind her gloves, something was brewing, a fight she couldn't train for. What was it that threatened to derail her unstoppable rise? In 2023, Georgia's life took a sharp turn. She was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, a chronic condition that brought unbearable cramps and relentless pain. Then came primary sclerosing cholangitis, a liver disease that hit her hard. Yet, even as her body battled these invisible foes, she stepped into the ring, winning fights while carrying this weight. Her resilience was unreal. She fought through pain most would crumble under. But there was more to come, a challenge that would push her to the edge. And it wasn't just her health at stake. In January 2025, Georgia shared a gut-wrenching truth. She had been diagnosed with a rare, aggressive cancer, one doctors called incurable. Rumors swirled that she'd been begging for tests since October 2024, feeling something was deeply wrong, only to be dismissed. One doctor allegedly told her it was all in her head. By the time they listened, the cancer had spread, leaving her with a fight no one could win. Adding to her pain, she suffered a miscarriage in February, a loss that broke her heart, but not her spirit. She posted on social media, flexing her muscles from a hospital bed, smiling through sepsis and despair, vowing to kick the absolute SHT out of this cancer. Her words weren't just brave, they were a battle cry. But there was one moment of light that shone through the darkness. On May 9, 2025, Georgia achieved a dream no illness could steal. She married Adriano Cardenali, the man she called her superhero. In a heartfelt Instagram post, she shared a photo of their hands, wedding rings gleaming, with the caption, "The day I married the love of my life." Adriano was her rock, standing by her through every hospital visit and every tear. She wrote, "If you have a man who'd burn the world down before he'd let it take you, hold on to him." Their love was a beacon, a reminder that even in the darkest times, beauty can bloom. But what came next would shake the world. Just 2 weeks later, on May 22, 2025, Georgia's final battle ended. At 25, her fight against cancer came to a close, leaving the boxing community in shock. Tributes poured in from every corner. Jake Paul called out the cruelty of cancer, while her promoter, Boxer, hailed her as a true warrior. Fighters like Karis Artingstall, Ellie Scottney, and Chantel Cameron mourned a friend whose spirit lit up the ring. England Boxing praised her legacy, noting her medals and the love she inspired. Even at a press conference for Josh Taylor, the crowd paused for a round of applause in her honor. Her story wasn't just about loss, it was about a life that burned bright, no matter how short. But there's more to her impact than meets the eye. Georgia O'Connor's legacy isn't just in the medals, or the undefeated record. It's in the way she faced every punch, inside the ring and out, with a fire that never dimmed. She was a boxer, a musician, a scholar, and a fighter in every sense. Her story raises questions that linger. Could her cancer have been caught earlier? Why were her cries for help ignored? These whispers online keep her story alive, sparking debates about healthcare and resilience. Georgia's life reminds us to fight for what matters, to love fiercely, and to never give up, no matter the odds. So, what's the one lesson you'll take from her incredible journey? Evanildo Bechara, who shaped the way millions speak and write Portuguese, only to spark heated debates in his final years. Evanildo Bechara, a name you might not know, but whose work you've definitely encountered, was Brazil's grammar giant. A man whose books defined classrooms, and whose ideas stirred controversy. When he passed away, at 97 in May 2025, the world lost a linguistic titan. But his story is far from simple, and there's so much more to uncover about his life, his battles, and the whispers that followed him. Let's dive into the journey of a man who made words his empire. Bechara's story starts in Recife, back in 1928, in a world far removed from the academic halls he'd later command. Losing his father as a child, he grew up fast. By 12, he was sent to Rio de Janeiro to live with his uncle, carrying little more than a hunger for knowledge. To make ends meet, young Evanildo taught private lessons in Portuguese, math, and even Latin, Imagine a teenager schooling adults while still figuring out life himself. That grit set the stage for something extraordinary. But what drove him to rise above those tough beginnings? At just 15, Bechara's life changed when he met Manuel Said Ali, a legendary philologist who saw something special in the boy. By 17, he wasn't just studying, he was publishing. His first essay, Fenómenos de Internacao, hit the presses in 1948, a bold debut that hinted at the giant he'd become. He dove into letras at what's now UERJ, graduating by 1949, and soon landed a teaching post at the prestigious Colegio Pedro II. His early works caught eyes, but it was only the beginning of a career that would reshape how Brazil understood its language. What was the spark that turned this young scholar into a household name? That spark ignited with Moderna Gramática Portuguesa, first published in 1961. This wasn't just a book, it was a revolution. Spanning 40 editions by 2025, it became the go-to guide for teachers and students, blending strict grammar rules with the vibrant diversity of Brazilian Portuguese. Bechara didn't just write for stuffy academics, he crafted tools for everyday people, from high schoolers to professors. His other works, like Gramática Escolar da Língua Portuguesa and Leicos de Portugues pela Análise Sintática, cemented his place in classrooms nationwide. But his influence stretched far beyond books. Something bigger was coming. Bechara's fingerprints are all over the 2009 Portuguese language orthographic reform, a massive effort to unify spelling across Portuguese-speaking countries. As Brazil's representative, he helped bridge nations like Portugal and Angola, but not without pushback. Some praised his vision for a cohesive language. Others grumbled that it diluted Brazil's unique voice. Posts on X even called it a controversial legacy, with critics saying it favored uniformity over cultural flair. Bechara stood firm, arguing that a shared standard strengthened the language globally. But was he right, or did he stir a linguistic storm? Then came the debates that lit up his later years. Bechara wasn't one to chase trends, and his stance on neutral language raised eyebrows. In a 2023 interview, he called it more opinion than science, a view that sparked buzz online. Some praised his commitment to tradition, others saw it as out of touch. Rumors swirled that younger linguists pushed back, claiming he was gatekeeping progress. Then there was his support for adding dorama, the term for Japanese and Korean dramas, to the official Vocabulario Ortográfico. Fans loved it, but traditionalists weren't thrilled, whispering that Bechara was bending too far to pop culture. These clashes showed he wasn't just a scholar, he was a lightning rod. And that wasn't the half of it. By his 90s, Bechara had become a pop star of philology, as one outlet put it. His lectures packed rooms in Brazil and Europe, with fans, yes, fans, lining up for selfies after talks. He wasn't just teaching grammar, he was inspiring generations. As head of the ABL's Lexicology and Lexicography Commission, he shaped the Vocabulario Ortográfico, adding over 340,000 words to the Portuguese lexicon. His work wasn't just academic, it was a love letter to the language. But as his health faded, what would his final chapter hold? In 2024, a femur fracture landed Bechara in Rio's Hospital Placei, where he spent his last year. On May 22, 2025, at 97, he passed due to multiple organ failure, leaving a nation in mourning. The ABL called him the greatest specialist in Portuguese, and tributes flooded in from students, professors, and even ex-users like at Bone Gas, who wrote, "If you studied Portuguese in Brazil, you studied Bechara." His books, his reforms, his passion, they are woven into the fabric of how Brazil speaks. But his death raised a question that lingered online: who would carry his torch? And that's where things get intriguing. Bechara's legacy isn't just about grammar rules or dictionaries, it's about how language shapes who we are. He believed Portuguese was a living, breathing thing, a bridge between history and the future. Yet, as posts on X noted, his conservative streak, like his neutral language stance, left some wondering if he'd resisted change too much. Others argue he protected the language's roots while embracing terms like dorama. His passing, on the same day the ABL elected a new member, felt almost poetic, as if one era closed and another began. So, what's next for Portuguese? Will it evolve with the times, or hold fast to Bechara's vision? That's the question he leaves us with, a challenge to keep exploring the words we use every day.